Andrew, it's great to see you again. A couple of years since we've had the Commodores and the Crimson Tide, but how's everything going on West End?
We're doing great. I mean, I think we would have liked to flip one of the previous couple of games that we had versus Georgia State or Missouri, but I do think this has been certainly a renewed Vanderbilt team here in 2024. So all things considered, plus the construction, which everyone's going to enjoy today for sure, between Vanderbilt and Alabama, is moving things in a place where Vanderbilt needs to be. So that's good.
That's certainly good to hear about. And again, Vanderbilt got everyone's attention week one against Virginia Tech. Did you have some good confidence about this Vandy team going into that first matchup as they were able to pick up the win against the Hokies in overtime?
I think I would be lying, Roger, if I said I had all of this confidence in the world that things were going to work out in a certain direction. I think to me, the 2024 season was a bunch of curiosity more than anything else because so much had changed. It's a new offensive coordinator. It's a new defensive coordinator, which is our head coach. It's a new quarterback. There's a ton of new players. I think it's 51 new players on this roster, which is not totally unheard of in college football these days, but certainly for us, that's new. So it was a season of curiosity, and it got off to a fantastic start versus Virginia Tech. And the way that this offense is designed, and certainly the leadership of Diego Pavia, um, started things off incredibly well. And Vanderbilt, to borrow some coach speak, played to its identity right away. Virginia Tech was very, very uncomfortable, and that certainly spurred this season forward significantly in week one.
Yeah, it was a great result for the Commodores and a win after that against Alcorn State. When you mentioned the games against Georgia State and as well Missouri, what led to some of the inconsistencies from Vanderbilt in those two games that ultimately led to losses?
Well, Georgia State, I do give them credit for scheming up our offense pretty well. Diego Pavia was the SEC Offensive Player of the Week against Virginia Tech. We displayed this option attack that sort of came out of the pistol. And Georgia State said, well, we're not going to let you get to the edge. We're going to force you to read this defense and hand it off up the middle. And Vanderbilt struggled with the running up the middle. And they found their counterpunch, but perhaps they found it a little bit too late in the fourth quarter with Eli Stowers. As far as Missouri's concerned, I think Vanderbilt played a pretty good game. The biggest problem Vanderbilt has had has been penalties through the first four games. Honestly, Vanderbilt is 15th in this conference in penalties. It's like 8 penalties for 83 yards per game, which is so unlike a Clark Lee team. They were first in the conference a season ago against Georgia State. It directly led to 2 touchdowns. There was a holding on a run that would have been a touchdown. By the way, it would have been a touchdown without the hold. And then on another drive defensively, there was a roughing the passer that extended the drive. And then, like 2 plays later, there was a 40-yard touchdown pass by Georgia State. So the penalties have been a problem for Vanderbilt. And if that continues, certainly versus Alabama, it's going to make for an uncomfortable afternoon.
You mentioned the quarterback Diego Pavia. When he's playing at his best, what is he doing well for Vanderbilt and getting everybody moving in the right direction?
That's an interesting question. And somebody else asked me that this week. And, you know, with so many Southeastern Conference players, it's easy to talk about the fact that they've got this unbelievable arm that they can throw the football 80 yards, or you've got Hurts, or you've got Milrow, or you've got any one of these players in the past for Alabama that can make tremendous athletic plays with their feet. I don't know that that's Diego Pavia. In fact, he probably does not have the strongest arm. He's probably not the fastest guy, but what he is a fierce competitor. The thing that I've said, Roger, a couple of times is the fact that he's a self-made Southeastern Conference starting quarterback, right? He started his career at New Mexico Military Institute, of all places, played his way to a scholarship opportunity at New Mexico State, and then played his way into an opportunity here at Vanderbilt. He is a fierce, fierce competitor. I think with his rushing ability, the thing that is unique about him is he invites contact. He's not reckless about it. He's not going to take a direct hit, or at least he's going to try to avoid it. But for all of these elusive running quarterbacks, he's not that. He invites contact. He's going to get the extra 2 or 3 yards. And for this offense, he tends to keep them on schedule. And then the other thing so far, not perfect, but he tends to take care of the football. And that obviously has to continue versus Alabama as well.
Who are some of the key skill players that are around him in this offense, both running backs and wide receivers?
Yeah, Eli Stowers has become his kind of go-to guy. Um, had 10 targets versus Missouri, threw a touchdown pass versus, I guess that was Alcorn State. He's the former quarterback out of high school, went to Texas A&M, transferred out of there, became a tight end at New Mexico State, and has certainly been Diego Pavia's favorite target so far. After Stowers, Cedric Alexander is blossoming, a sophomore running back from Texas. He was all SEC freshman team a season ago, and certainly is the feature back for sure for Vanderbilt. But watch out for number 23, AJ Newberry, who's got elite speed, trying to get to the edge. Can he get to the edge consistently versus Alabama? I don't know, but he's got elite speed for sure, and I'm sure Vanderbilt will try to use that.
Who are the playmakers on defense?
CJ Taylor certainly is the one that jumps to mind right away. We were kind of going through it. I think CJ might have had 9 tackles versus you guys back in 2022, and it was maybe the first sign of, oh, CJ Taylor is going to be a really good player for Vanderbilt. He's a safety, had an opportunity to go pro last year, but did elect to come back to Vanderbilt to play a slightly different position, play more of a boundary safety now. But he is someone that can disrupt the backfield. He also has a handful of career interceptions. He's got 2 defensive touchdowns in his career. So number one, CJ Taylor for sure is the primary guy in the defense for Vanderbilt.
And then what has Jerry Kill meant to this program since he's joined Clark Lea's staff?
Goodness. I think Jerry's meant a ton. Um, our color analyst on our broadcast is Norman Jordan, played for Vanderbilt 1982. And Vanderbilt was very, very good that season. And I think one of the things that Norm talks about is the fact that there's 1,000 things in college football to think about, to deal with on the field, off the field, from press conferences to depth charts to whatever's going on academically. And it's really easy to get caught up in the noise. I think Jerry Kill has done a really good job of letting this program focus on like the 3 or 4 that actually matter. And when you kind of strip away all of the noise, you can keep yourself on track. And, just watching from afar, obviously the job that Kalen DeBoer has done so far has been very, very good. I think he probably falls under the same category of football coaches that are really, really good at reducing college football down to the things that really matter. And, the Vanderbilt job is a hard one. No one's denied that. And I think for Clark stepping into his alma mater, I think he probably did try to tackle a lot of things very early on, which was needed. But at the same time, Coach Kill has helped him really focus on the things that actually matter. And I think you can kind of feel that here this season.
So a lot of construction going on campus at Vanderbilt, and especially with First Bank Stadium. Kind of what does it look like this year for our fans getting ready to come to the game? And then ultimately, what is the vision for this stadium?
What does it look like? Uh, is that behind the barriers or is that inside the barriers? Because it's a very different thing. If you're inside the barriers, it's a gigantic pile of dirt with a lot of really expensive steel beams for what it's worth. I say that half jokingly, in part because half of the stadium is done. So a season ago, we all had a good chuckle, laugh, whatever about the fact that Vanderbilt's scoreboard was suspended on cranes, which I kind of missed. It's now nostalgic for me. But those cranes are gone. The north end zone is now complete. It's the basketball practice facility, and it comes right up against the football stadium. There's suites, there's all of that sort of stuff. It's actually a fantastic place to watch a college football game. They're still working on the south end zone. So for Bama fans that are there, they're going to see a bunch of steel beams. They will see the structure of what it will become, but that is still under construction. I think the vision ultimately for Vanderbilt's, and it's kind of the difference, Roger, to me of an urban campus versus, a generic college town is there are so many places where you can tailgate and have community and bring people together on a college football Saturday in a college town. You just have the space. In an urban campus, that's been more difficult. One of the things the construction has designed to do is to create some space where Vanderbilt fans can truly come together on a college football Saturday, on a college basketball night, on a college baseball weekend where you can get a better sense of community. And that's the big picture stuff. The really granular thing is like we've tenfolded our premium seats. We basically had no premium seats here, which in college athletics or in athletics period, um, isn't really going to cut it. So it's a really well thought out, certainly smaller, but really smart, thoughtful elevation of the landscape for Vanderbilt athletics. And, we're getting there. It's going to take another couple of years, though.
You've got the Crimson Tide today, and then what does the rest of the road look like for the Commodores this year?
Let's see. We go to Kentucky after you guys. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I feel like this is you guys have little rat traps, right? Around the building this
That's
week,
right.
huh? I feel like you're luring me into a conversation beyond 1 week at a time. We got Kentucky after this. We've got Ball State. We've got Texas. We've got goodness, Auburn bye week or Auburn South, whatever. It's the Southeastern Conference. We've got number one, we've got number two, Texas, whatever Tennessee is at this point in time. We've got number four, we've got LSU, whatever they are. Outside of the generic movements of week to week of college football, certainly the return of Diego Pavia, Jerry Kill, and Tim Beck to the Plains in Auburn a year after they beat him will be a very highly anticipated matchup in early November. So that's one to pay attention for.
We'll keep our eyes out for it. Andrew Allegretta, thank you so much for joining us. Talk all things Vanderbilt. Can't wait to see you on Saturday. Just thank you again for your time. Roll Tide.
Go Doors, anchor down.